book that's coming out called Imazzanation. It is actually, before it was called Dreamland. I called it Dreamland in Italy because it was an easy name for the Italians to get to. Let me just basically show you how this thing works. I'll go over all this important part here, right? This is actually a prelude presentation that I use to kids in the first days of the course. You know, if you want, like Thomas Jefferson said, if you want something, you have to do something you've never done. Let's just I'm going to get right to the nuts and bolts of this whole thing. Okay, I can give this distraction. This is what I was trying to say before is when you try to tell somebody to create, like a person, is sometimes he's got things, he's got to worry about the payment of the house, his daughter's getting things, we have a pierogi party to go to, oh my God, I got to bring stuff. All of these things a person has going on in their mind, and he can't create until you distract him. Once you distract him with something important, like you find out your father just died, he's out and he's engaged and focused, and that's how it works. Let's see how I'm going to show you an example of how, like this is a phrase that I use a lot. A navigator can lead you to a road that you've never seen, heard, or imagined, but how do you program that road that you've never seen, heard, or imagined? These are the types of things that I teach the kids. Like Lewis Carroll said, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. We've heard about these things. So did George. George said something like that. Let's see. These are all the people that work for me, by the way. These are all my employees here, right? So here's how it starts. Let's make believe this is geared to product design, okay? This is how I distract. Let's make believe we're going to design a coffee cup, okay? So how it works is this. Well, I list here in step one, this is an interactive thing. An architect, when he designs any product, has to think of things. He has to think of colors, forms, materials, inspiration, mood, decoration, depth, temperature, whatever. He has to think of these types of things. Anybody that's got to design anything, talk about product design. I put them and I lie them down in a chart form where I list 100 magic words: colors, forms, materials, inspiration, moods, decoration, okay? So that's all I do. I just take these things, I lie them down into a chart. After I do that, I turn these into polyhedral multifaceted dice. Again, this is the gamification part of the deal, where they turn into things like a dice that's all moods: happy, love, angry, shapes, squares, triangles, ovals, textures, materials, odors, and depends. They're 10-gear dice. So how I do it is I roll the dice. Here I explain why I use dice, because dice is an important thing as far as claiming ownership to a science. And so we get a series of words. We get a word like blue, pyramid shape, made out of cement, futuristic, angry, thorn-like texture, right? So the first day of class that I did this with my first-year students at the European Institute of Design, I called up a girl in front of the class and I said, Martina, come up in front of the class, 25 Italians, first day of university, first day of creative thinking, whatever. And so I said, Martina, if you had to invent a coffee cup, how would you do it? And she goes, Bo, I don't know. I said, well, listen, these are marketing kids, so how will you do it? So, well, what color would it be? She said, oh, white. Well, why would it be white, Martina? And she said, well, maybe because white is the color of all coffee cups. She's assigned an interesting little reasoning there. You know, it worked. So I says, what about the shape? And she goes, with the hands like this. I says, what does that one mean? She goes, is it round? She goes, no. At the end, it ended. So we took a chart, and the chart that I showed you, and we highlighted these words of random. And these are the actual words you're seeing there that were actually done. I called her up in front of the room. I says, okay, Martina, you're gonna look at these words, and then you're gonna tell me the story of the coffee cup. So she gets up in the 25 Italians, first year university. You can imagine what it sounded like, you know? So she gets up in front of the room. She looks, she's starting to sweat. She's starting to go crazy. She finally gets the stamina. She stands up. She puts her hands up in front of everybody. She silences the class and says, imagine the coffee cup. As we know it, a coffee cup is something small and on a table. But who says it has to be small and on a table? I got goosebumps all up my arms and back when I heard that. That girl said something very important. I'm going to tell you about the coffee cup. The coffee cup is made in a pyramid shape. I says, Martina, well, why would it be made in a pyramid shape? And she says, well, if you look at most coffee cups, they have that pyramid shape. I says, why? Because it's important they assign a reasoning to this stuff. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. He says, well, because most coffee cups are like that, because maybe we have a nose and the opening has to be a little bit bigger to smell. That's another cool little thing she's noticed, isn't it? So then we went on, and there was stuff that was made out of cement. These are conceptual starting points. Now, why would it be made out of cement? I says, Martina. She goes, well, maybe if it was made out of a material like cement, you wouldn't need handles because it doesn't conduct heat as much as other things. That's another cool little thing she's done. So while she's doing that and storytelling the product, we are drawing what she is recording, what she is saying. So we said the pyramid was made in a pyramid shape with golden thorn texture. It's cobalt blue, it's very angry, it smells of orange, and when you touch it, it's freezing. So these are the things that came off of a random. And again, she had to animate in the reason. After we did this, it's not over, because then we give it to an architect and say, can we make this thing really work? And we start flipping on the analytical part of our minds, and we steal something. We steal something away from that, and voila, we have a product. So what we're doing out of random elements, we're doing, and this goes on with many different other things about, I've applied this to food design, to psychology, to, for example, we go into a classroom of kids and they're all students, and we take a picture of the good looking girl and we put her on the blackboard, and we take a picture of the nice looking guy and we put him on the blackboard. So we say to one of the girls, do you think you could talk to her? And she goes, no. Could you talk to her? Yes. No. Do you know her? No, I don't care. Do you know her? Okay, whatever. So I'm going to tell you the story about her. So we take a series of the dice, and we have one dice with the relationship of the mother, 20 different relationships, relationship with the father, the fiscal situation, the health situation. We roll them, and we get a hybrid story of some hot words. So I say to her, I says, now, have you ever seen Angela, that's her name, by the way, with short sleeve shirts on? And she goes, no. Do you know why? And she goes, no, do you know why? She goes, no. I'm going to tell you why. She wears long sleeve shirts because she's bruised because her father hits her and she hates the child. Her mother has another partner and doesn't want to talk to the father, and the family's completely mixed up. Thank God the grandmother is there because the family is bankrupt and she's the only source of income. And by the way, she's got a little cancer growing on the side of her ear. You think you can talk to her now? So we use these, and this silence comes out. So these are the ways of reframing exercises. Lots of what you do, I believe that in some of your exercises, and that's how it can really work as far as, and that's how I teach these kids things to do like that, and other things. In food design, we design religions. We designed a religion, and we found out by studying the design of a religion, it's the same thing as a company. There's the leader, there's the president, there's the management, there's the disciples, there's the mission statement, there's the icon. And it's the same thing. It's kind of crazy. And you know, by looking, it's sort of like the of noticing and observation. And I have another 9 methods that I teach with. Actually, I could show you what I don't know. Well, we don't have to do it now, but I mean, these are the types of things.
It's like you're using functional psychology with Mad Libs and rapid prototyping, all like boom.
No,
that's freaking brilliant.
No, it does work.
Don't save it to next time. Just show them. It's just like a flyer you have for the thing, because the Great Works Alliance and the Soul City and the SoulSpark Game needs you.
Okay, well, no,
they need this Italian Renaissance into the work.
Let me full screen mode. Here we go. Okay, so this is the academy that I'm calling the Think Academy, and it's a series of 10 courses. The Think Academy is a box made in the shape of an academy. It's a floating school, and what it does, it goes all over the place. In fact, there's one in Italy, there's one in Mexico we're doing now, there's one in China, and inside are courses of 9 courses that I teach, cognitive reframing courses. Just quickly, don't worry about this. These are pictures from one of my classes at the European Institute of Design of teaching people how to think. It's funny, it's ironic to think this, that when I went to school, back when things were good, but they didn't teach us how to think. They told us what to think. And it's ironic to think, nobody told us when you go home, they said, think about George Washington, the president. They didn't tell us how to think. So these structured things of thinking, critical thinking, lateral thinking, out of the box thinking, mindful thinking, are all things that came out, but more or less in the higher education arena, but not necessarily in high school or whatever in junior. And the question would be, why don't they teach that? Because it's important. Like these are corporate training things. Here's how, this is my first method, Imazzanation method that they teach with. And this is what I was saying with the dice, where you roll and get combinations, and you can virtually go anywhere with this whole thing. The second one is Lazzaro, which is my second method, which is the art of noticing, visual awareness. Leonardo da Vinci said, just by looking at the wall, you can see you can see everything in a wall, but you just gotta look. I remember a guy, a farmer in Italy, he was illiterate, and you did he told me when they went mushroom hunting, he said to me, he says, all you gotta do is you gotta look at 1 square meter of space and you're gonna find the mushroom. I thought that was amazing what he said. And it's true. So this method here is visual. I taught this at Harding University. I've done workshops in Italy. And what it is you look at on the wall and we find traces of a person or whatever we find. We then archaeologically, we trace exactly what we see with all kinds of elements, and this is what they turn into people. We name them, we create a story of them. So this is the art of noticing. After you do this kind of a workshop, you believe you can't you look at everything. So it's basically based on noticing, observation, which is important for designers. Next other course is called Earthquake. Quite frankly, how Earthquake works is we take a look at things of nature. This is basically for designers. It's a refining designer thing, which is very simple, because we take a look at this bird and we try to imagine a toothbrush with the same types of traits, qualities, textures, colors, and it can be anything after that, or a bureau or a bed sheet or whatever. So this is sort of for design people. They're all 24-hour teachers. This is Monago. Monago is a branding concept that I do now. I teach this now as well. And what it is, it's a hybrid between designing a logo and a monogram. It's a monogo. What it does, it passes through 12 different categories of color, shape, texture, attitude that are all encased in letters. And they're just made to create. So this is sort of like, this is for design, art direction and graphic design type of a thing. This is a really cool one called the corporate flavor that I've done 3 or 4 of these different workshops. And what this is, we take a look at a company, let's say Salvador Ferragamo company, and we look at everything they do. We're going to look at their materials, their shapes, their forms, their textures, their target marketing. We take a look at all and write them down, and we transpose those into food. In other words, and we have to assign a reasoning to it, because if we find out that Ferragamo used navy blue, there was a reason. Well, maybe because Salvador had blueberry patches or made blueberry marmalade. Any sort of a link that we could find that made some sort of an analytical sense, we write it down. After we do that, we turn it into a dessert. So what happens is this dessert, right? This dessert, the Ferragamo could say, don't come and see our fall winter collection, come and taste our collection. So it's polysensory, how this works. And this we've adapted to drinks. I can just go on and on, but this is the corporate flavor. So we're designing a flavor for a company. For example, if Harley Davidson was a dessert, it's going to be orange, black, it's going to be chrome, it's going to vibrate as it goes down, because that's the way it is, more or less. These things come out through a table and a chart, and you're looking at things specifically. It's not just roll the dice and see what happens. It's a lot of thinking involved. They have to find reasoning to it. So again, this is another one, the corporate flavor. This other thing is called, this is a really, really cool concept that I'm presenting at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, where it's edible art is what it is, kind of. We still have a series, the menu is a series of dice you roll, okay? And this is damn cool, this thing here. What happens is there's 1 dice of carbohydrates, vegetables, fruit, type of plate, type of thing. And when you go into the place, they all work. There are 100 magic elements. You roll your dice. They take a picture of it with an iPhone, and that goes into the kitchen with a chef and a choreographer. And what they do is they give you a plate, number 1 of a combination you've probably never had, and number 2 decorated by a chef, and they're like edible art exhibits while you're eating. and this was presented to the MFA and other museums it's starting to be presented to, is, the taste of art. Instead of seeing it on the walls, taste it. So it's sort of like an interactive type of a thing that you do inside of museums. This is another one called the prosthetic touch, which is a really cool thing. I was invited to a dinner in Italy with 10 people. Next to me, there was a girl at the table. And as she was taking a chalice of wine, I heard a noise going, ding, ding. I says, what's that? So I looked at her and I noticed her hands made out of wood. Holy shit. I said, my God, when I said that, she saw my face. She looked at me, she turned red. We did something wrong here by talking. We didn't do anything. Well, at that point, I said, why don't we, and it just ruined the whole night, basically, because she was trying to hide this condition that she had. So I talked to at the School of European Institute of Design. I said, with the fashion people, why don't we create a project called the Prosthetic Touch, where we would then outsource to some companies like Swarovski, Nike, Armani, Versace, and we will create a prosthetic arm made of Swarovski crystal, or we would create one of Nike. So that type of an arm becomes the body jewel. So if somebody has one of those, you can't hide that, and people would invite people to say, can I see that? I've never seen one. And all of a sudden you reset the ambience. So this is sort of like a way of trying to bring out the fear and the inhibitions and all that stuff, that called the prosthetic touch. This is another course. This was Fire 5, the one I was telling you about, where it's polysensory. It teaches entrepreneurs how to use their 5 senses when they think. One of the exercises I explained was called Ask a Mask with the Mask. One of the other ones, the more tangible one, easier to explain, was a big polyhedral multifaceted dice with 20 sides made out of wood. And all the wood sides are textures. So what they do is you put on a mask, you blindfold yourself, you touch a texture, and you have to imagine a product through the sense of touch, the texture. You have to brand it, put down a business plan, name it, and they do the sense of touch. These are one of the 5 exercises inside of the kit. So these are basically the things that I do teach as far as the academy, the Think Academy, which is all about thinking. So it's hard to explain so quickly and stuff, but at least you saw a little bit, of what I do and stuff like that. So you can actually, and there's so many, and my problem is I'm overwhelmed. See, I just get so overwhelmed. I have to go to Dunkin' Donuts to hang out, because if Dunkin' Donuts is my go-to place. Now they got avocado toast and stuff. They got some really cool shit, but I got to do that, especially after I teach these Chinese guys. 50 Chinese people in the class, 6:30 in the morning, because it's 12 hours ahead. When I get on the line at 6:30 in the morning, right? I'm sitting there because I have Zoe, who's a translator, and all of a sudden we start. Well, okay, kids, today we're going to start doing something. She puts her hand up and she goes, "We want what?" Oh my God! Hold on, guys, easy. I got to go to 2 hours of this stuff. It's you can imagine what it's like, but the results are coming out really, really cool. In fact, I'm teaching them the Imazzanation method, and one of the girls is doing flowers. They're designing flowers, and she's designed this amazing flower that's a flower made of water. And it's got to be a reasoning why, where it came. It grew up in the hills, in the forest. This flower, it was intimidated by these huge trees, and it didn't find its place. So all of a sudden, somebody transplanted it to warmer climates where it had an use. And they have to tell a story about this whole thing when they have to market it and brand it. And that's in China. And I'm really, actually, the course it's been interrupted for a couple of weeks because of their midterm exams and their whatever, but it's picking up the 7th, and where the results that I'll be showing, I can show you how it works. So I mean, if there's some way that I could do something with you guys, I mean, like help modeling something like in that. I mean, and I know it's all about point of view. Like it's all about reframing. It's all it is. I mean, like, and you guys know more about it than me, and you guys put it down into a science type of a form. And maybe your whole look should be kind of totally geeky, geeky with the weird. It should maybe have that type of appeal, because kids with the glasses with the band-aids tying it around, stuff that's kind of really weird. I mean, gothic kind of in a way. I know I see it kind of like, I'm just saying.
We're on a media platform where we've been kind of thinking towards Dust on YouTube. Have you ever seen that channel? It's great independent filmmakers doing sci-fi stuff, aiming in this lean direction. And It's pretty raw and gritty and thought-provoking. Something along the lines of Teen Titans, like an academy that's rough and gritty, realizing the person is who they are, and where do you come from that, and how can you get support to be your ultimate badass and multiply that
and thrive.
Looking at what is entertaining and what is relatable at the same time, as far as what's going on right now and where are things heading in the future based off of our assessment of now and before.
And the environment. Like if you're in the hood and there's gunshots around the corner, different ways of being able to cope with that and overcome the challenges of that particular setting.
Like, give me 3 reasons why that could be good, and give me 3 reasons why it could be bad. That type of a thing. Looking at it with, I get what you're saying. No, it's. I tell you what you guys are doing is something pretty deep. You know what I'm trying to say? It's pretty deep. I mean, I think that I think what like in the fun part of the whole deal was to turn that thing out for top 40 something for everybody. I mean, easy. Don't get too deep with it. Let them know. Just let them happen and absorb it and let it work on them. Then they get the bow tie afterwards saying you did a really good job. You got 9, you got 10, you got what? I think that that you gotta. I think that that's what like for example in my thing I have shapes, forms, and colors. I didn't invent a new color. In fact, all of these things are standard traditional things we have at our hands, but it's the combination, it's the mixture, it's the point of view that's different that makes them work. Red is red. I don't tell them why is it red. They go back in the storybooks and find out the origins of red. Forget it. Ain't gonna work. Nobody's interested. It's ground level. Get on the first floor, press the thing button, goes to first floor, second. Simple. They don't want to get involved with this deep shit, because what you guys are selling is selling some pretty deep stuff. I mean, the way you're talking about, like I don't
it's
get
like
the
an accordion ball, a ball that you can have highly condensed and compressed for someone that wants a certain simple lens. It's all consolidated. Just give me point A, B, C, D, and I'm done. All the way out to highly in-depth, detail-oriented, full story, full scope, rabbit down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, right.
Stuff where you've got this ultimate playground. It's not just this land that you can explore, but you can manipulate it yourself and explore and experiment and what happens without the detrimental consequences.
You should actually call one of your pavilions the rabbit hole, and you should actually create the rabbit hole where you go down the rabbit hole and make the labyrinth downstairs and stuff like that. You should make them dress up like rabbits is what you should do. So you're going to go down the rabbit hole. We're going to go down and figure out what's. I think you can do really crazy ass shit like that. I mean, I think that those types of things would be much. They would capture the attention, distract the people into what they're doing. And then in reality, when they get out of the bunny hole, they're going to be sitting down in front of you and say, oh, by the way, did you know what you're doing, guys? And then it turns into science. And they go, oh, I didn't know what was going on. I mean,
right.
I think that,
right.
Different
lenses, different levels of aptitude for their entry point, stuff like that, whether it's for early education or high academics, that, hey, you really have to capture my interest. And I'm not going to be interested unless it throws me from one end of the galaxy to another where it's highly technical. I can't argue with this. I'm enthralled because I work this way with my wiring. It has to be logic based, but then you throw me out into fantasy and I get the same experience. How can we do things like that just operate through like fantasy exploration, enthrallment from that person's individualistic lens through the scenarios that they can relate to?
Do you know Dr. Quantum?
There's no limits.
Do I know who? Excuse me?
Do you know Dr. Quantum?
No. Okay, listen. I come from the country, right? I come from the parking lot with Harley Davidson's parked out there. Okay, that's no, I don't really know, but I'll find out who he is. But no, I don't.
He's an animated character in the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? Further Down the Rabbit Hole.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Right?
I was thinking as you were talking that maybe your pavilion should be, I mean, I close my eyes and I try to imagine this whole thing, and I see a bunch of people, doctors' coats, and they're one-on-one. And as someone comes in, they say, hello, hi, Mary, how are you? Why don't you come with me? And they lead you down all of these weird places. And it's like a one-on-one facilitation type of a thing where they guide you through easy things and simple. You see, this is the rabbit hole. You know what I mean? You know,
Right, you can bring your own team with you.
And your
Why not bring your
avatar,
crew?
you can be an avatar, so you don't even need to be as yourself down this rabbit hole. You can assume on another archetype or character and say, okay, as Batman, I'm going down this rabbit hole.
right. Yeah, you can give them a
As
series of masks.
Wonder Woman, I'm going down this rabbit hole.
Right, you can give them a series of
Archetypes
masks
can
and
be
costumes they
represented
put
as
on.
an aspect of yourself.
I'm sorry?
I mean, you could do so many, like I thought about teaching the class, right? Can you imagine a class, first day of university, go into the classroom, right? All the kids are there hanging around, whatever they're doing. And all of a sudden the teacher walks in the room dressed as Batman. Hello, how are you guys? Can you imagine what that would do? You know, I'm trying to, and you don't take the mask off and you don't see the teacher. And the next day of class, you come back in, there he is again. How you doing, guys? Can you imagine the shock of taking that mask off after the 1 month and saying, hi, kids, who you're, wow. You know what I mean? It would be a pretty, you know, those kinds of things and then imagine.
You have to find your testing place in the US.
Yeah, we need some testing spots. We're ready to test. Check out that activity book.
Why did you say New Orleans, Bill?
Yeah, the House of the Rising Sun with the music and everything. Or everybody comes into the class and they all have to have a mask, the Superman mask on. They're all Supermans and they're sitting around.
Right?
How you doing? Nobody sees anybody. I mean, you can do some crazy ass shit. And this is impact learning in a way. I talked to a guy who's the director of the Accademia di Bella, of the Academy of Fashion and Costume in Rome, in Trastevere, where I was teaching near there. And he asked me if I'd do a workshop. And he says, how much time do you need to do a workshop? I said, well, they're 5 or 6 hours. He goes, Jesus Christ. He says, can you do them for any less? And I says, what is it, a fiscal thing? No, we're not talking money. Can you do it for any less? I says, what does that mean? I can do it less, but not the least. He says, could you do it for less than an hour? Could you do it less than 15 minutes? I said, no, I don't think so. He says, well, listen, let me tell you something about it. And I learned, this is a really cool pointer. It's called impact learning, where you could have a course in 5 seconds, which means you set up the whole thing, you know, it's a whole thing. All of a sudden, at a magical point, the lights go out, curtains open up, stop. And you know that you're going to remember that for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? And like, you know what I mean? And that's the impact. And I believed in, and I said, I'd love to try to do something like 5 seconds, 5 seconds. You know what I mean? You get bit by a Doberman. Ah, wow. You're going to remember that Doberman every time you see a little. So the thing is that you can do some really way out learning. And again, the whole thing at Harvard, I was suggesting they do these breakout rooms, these escape rooms, which is kind of in line with what I think that some of your stuff could be geared towards. You know, you can do you got 3 rooms. I went into one. We went in 15 people. They lock you in the room. They close the door with keys, and you can't get into the next room until you resolve all of the 15 problems. And it's kind of and then you get into the second room. The idea is to get out in 45 minutes, but you can't just knock on the door and say, by the way, can I get out? No, you can't do that. So it does teach you something, and you could actually teach math. You could teach English. You could teach racial. You have to answer the questions, and you'll be surprised. I mean, especially if you're claustrophobic, you're going to start answering pretty questions. But things like that, I see it more like an interactive circus type of a play. I definitely see it really working. I just hope that you can you get.
There's cards. There's cards.
That's the small.
So we have types of cards we're developing. We're also developing link-like type objects that will be for constructing your domicile or whatever.
Look at Bill. He's going wild. He wants to go more wild. Immediately do a testing. You know, but
sure. I mean, there's so many things you could do. I mean, this is
we have goals that we set for ourselves. They're quarterly goals. And we've been doing this for 2 years now, developing the business plan, getting it up to the standards of
What you see,
what you see.
which is just a tip of the iceberg so far.
No, you got a lot of
So
stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on there. I mean, I'm able to understand that there's a lot of stuff going on there. I mean, it's pretty deep. I think that this has to be.
Multi-pivotal projects with the average target of 3. Can one thing branch into 3 different directions to accommodate different lenses or different approaches in methodology? So it could be pulled, like we provide a framework and you can just cherry pick modules, kind of like a la carte, and build other things with it still redirecting you to the same path no matter what you do. It's a spider web that at one point you're going to intersect anyway, and you have full control.
Like, it reminds me what you're saying now of the movie with Tom Hanks when it was called Big, where he was, we remember that when he was doing a comic book, electronic comic book, that you get to the next frame, you can choose where you want to go to, and it leads you down a different story, kind of. And that could be a cool thing to do as well. You can do anything you want with what you got. You got so much shit going. I mean, you got a lot of stuff. It's just got to be packaged. That's all. It's got to be done right now. And I see that like a carnival, like an interactive event, like the Cirque du Soleil or something like that, a revolving show that turns into facilitated by all these. Really, it could be kind of, I don't know. I see it a little. I see what I see. But I mean,
that goes into the Gaia Fest project.
Yeah, right. No.
He does know about Gaia Fest.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
Right, we
allowed.
put a lot of thought into stuff. It mostly just takes time for you to absorb the process.
I mean, we do have like just specific goals that we are focusing on at the moment, but we've put a lot of our knowledge down into these documents to show a roadmap for people to adopt. We're not saying we want to do this all by ourselves. This is a different model of operation because we realize that the current model of operation society has become extremely degenerative. And we are under a time crunch here. And there are a lot of people that need to wake up for us as a species to survive on this planet, for this planet to survive. And so what we are saying here is a framework. Here are some examples that we're presenting. We invite you to participate in a different way of getting things done. We're not playing game A anymore because game A is destroying the world. We can talk in game A because we do need some financial support from the game A model. That's why we have games that will be marketable. That's why we have merchandise in our plan, in our map. That's why Inger-Mette is here, and others that we want to be able to provide. Now, Scholastic has a distribution center here. There are different printing and game production organizations we can present to, but we want to make sure that whoever we're working in collaboration with sees the benefit of a new model of
Does it work?
operation.
Does it work? They want to see solid. Does it work? Show me what I mean. Has it been documented?
Bill, it could be that we could assist the Great Works Alliance with clothing collection, like your Superman T-shirt, and have this kind of, so it can create income for the.
Oh yeah, the merchandising is phenomenal. That comes by default. I mean, that thing. I think that your problem is right now not a problem. It's you just gotta focus it and get it down into 10 solid different things that are happening. Just do the infrastructure, the structure right now. I think that's all it needs right now, tastefully done. And yeah,
There are 10. They're on the projects page on greatworksalliance.com.
I think there are about 100 is actually what you're going to be telling me. I bet there are 100.
We're talking about 100, but we've consolidated it down to, I think, 8 or 9
It's a lot.
that
It's a lot.
we're focusing on in the current phase.
Yes. Well,
Kind of like, in Salem. Have you been out this way in Massachusetts at all? In Boston, the area here? Have you ever been out this way? No.
Yeah.
You ever hear of Salem, Massachusetts, the House of Seven Gables, the witches? They came out from here in New England. They have the haunted houses, the witches' houses, and witches' museums, and I don't know. I was just saying that because it reminds me a little bit of. Again, anytime that you feel that you get the plan ready to go, and you want to sit down and tighten up the screws with everything and focus really on whatever we got to do here.
Right now.
Yeah,
Right
no,
now.
Yeah, right. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I get through the reading and stuff, so you have more of a solid of what's missing and what is there.
Yeah,
We're ready.
no. Yeah,
Whenever you
no.
Ingrid, do you want to do that video? Just share screen on that YouTube link that's in there
link of the
YouTube video.
The introductory video.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I can do.
That's like 3.5 minutes, and it'll give you a good grounding.
Soul City.
Wow. Oh, very good. Sure answered a lot of the, you asked, it's a nice presentation.
There
Nice
was
presentation.
obviously some bandwidth constriction there, with the stuttering and everything, but I think you probably get
No,
the full
I get
gist.
it. All the questions were being asked in statements, all, it really is incentivating one to figure it out. I mean, it leads you down the road to wanting to find out about how it really does work and how it can work really, but it's a great introduction thing, I think. I mean, it says a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there. Like lots of questions I couldn't answer. Like when all roads lead to an adventure, or like any, get lost and we'll figure it out. And the discoveries can't be made until you make the mistakes. And about mistakes are big things in life. The discoveries and for example, do you know the Nutella chocolate cream Nutella? Have you ever seen that chocolate cream Nutella? I worked in Italy for Ferrero, the company that made it. And they told me how it was made. They had these nuns outside with these big bathtubs while they were making this chocolate cream out in the sun and stuff. And one sister was Sister Regina, I'm not even sure her name was, she was walking across with a big bag of hazelnuts and she tripped and they went in the bathtub with all the chocolate cream. And voila, one of the biggest mistakes in the world came out to be one of the biggest products, one of the world. So the whole thing about making mistakes and leading you down these roads, like you were saying, it's pretty amazing. It's
I really feel like seeing it again is really to get into the youth culture. It's like the SoulSpark when you build the identity and kind to the creative spark to really be anew into the world. It's really, yeah. Well,
I mean, like it could be, and also there was one guy that we did this. It reminds me a little bit about this too. It could be even a key visual. One of my students we were creating creatures, doing creature designs, right, through my dice and stuff. And one guy showed me this. He was an animator, and it was outside in this big woods and stuff like that. And I couldn't find the creature. He was showing me this video. And I just saw, I says, I can't see the creature. And he says, you're not supposed to, because the creature is made out of mirror. And, the whole idea of, he was reflecting everything he went by and you couldn't find him. Then he clicked on the filter and he came out as the 3D dummy, but I couldn't see him. But I mean, and think of, you guys, what you're doing, you're taking the soul out, trying to introduce yourself. Please allow me to introduce myself. Mick Jagger said it right there, what you're saying right there, right?
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm trying to say? Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth. But I mean, and the same thing could happen like with that guy. It sort of reminded me of this figure that was done that was a mirror, and you couldn't find him because he was, I don't know. There's so many, as I say, it's so much shit there on the table right now. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, you are invited to help and participate in any way that you see yourself thriving. That's what we're here to encourage and help. And this is all about us all being able to benefit. It's a win-win-win situation. You win, I win, we all win, right? And
True meritocracy.
Yeah. There's like on top of my head again, this thing about the goals, Bill, the SDG goals, the 17 goals. That's the UN will meet in Glasgow, like 5 years after the Paris Agreement. But like a month or two before meeting in Glasgow, like the big leaders of the world will meet in Italy, in Milano. That's like the pre-meeting for the big meeting in.
And when's that?
I think it is in the fall. I think it could be September, end of September. So the Milano.
COP 26 too.
Yeah. So that COP 26. So I can share. So it means that you could do a the goal, the SDG goals, and the SoulSpark in Milano. And then to have a twin.
Where is it in Milan? Do you know where it is, or?
I can Google it and find out.
No, it doesn't matter. I just curious.
Yeah.
But is it like a presentation where who's
Yeah.
presenting? Is
It's
everybody
like
presenting? World?
it's like it's a big huge conferences. It's going to be distributed conference probably, because not everyone is going to come and travel to Milano because of COVID. Nobody knows. So
Well,
it's
now maybe things are going to be getting better in
it's
September.
getting better, but you know.
They just opened up
And then
Italy last
there's,
week.
you know, what you're talking about with the circus, if we could like start working on that project, that's something we could present at COP26. And you know, we're talking about doing a workshop starting June 5th. So the workshop would be going that's the SoulSpark workshop, and then there's other workshops Inger-Mette has also that she's putting together. And
I'm
building up
food and fashion. I'm into food and fashion. Mm.
Well, maybe walk in there with a series of I don't know. I see like actors and circus people walking around like really from out of the world. Just walking up. I don't know. I see so many things that stuff you got to
You'll
think
like
about.
Operation Shield. You will really like Operation Shield. That's one of our projects that we're promoting.
Or if 15 of you people walked in all with dressed up in a mirror suits, you couldn't see anybody.
Right.
Something
Yeah.
that's sort of something really striking, something that's coming, you know, it emblematically portrays, you know, like, you know, please allow myself to introduce myself. Maybe you should just have Jagger come in and say, and up on the stage and say that, you know, and you know who you are, and or there could be even a sketch like a 1 minute animated theater type of a thing on the stage, or some impact type of it. There could be so many things that you got a lot of stuff on the table there.
But on a really, yes, absolutely. But on a practical note, my head is like suddenly like very practical. I know that Bill can make those the SoulSpark help me the to do the game, an interactive game live, for example.
The dice.
The
That's
dice.
the dice we want.
The dice.
Yep,
The
there's
dice
an
is.
immense amount of overlap.
Bill can do the dices in the. He can produce these things, and you know, this is a person that is skilled in making these interactive games. And
Well, you know, we
performances.
did one idea. I never brought it through, but can you imagine a person with a dice head with all the things, right? And it would be like one of those diving bell helmets, you know, with a little thing that could spin. You can spin it.
Yeah, right.
You know, right?
Did you ever watch Transformers, the movie from back in the 80s? It was an animated one, and they had this one guy where his head would turn to different
right.
types of characters, right?
That's exactly something like that.
Yes.
So if you got like 10 kids up on the stage, and they all have a thing, and they go, all of a sudden they spin them.
How many faces does Shiva have? Like 16, I think.
I don't know. With the elephant, you mean? Is that it? Shiva's the elephant, right? Excuse me, I come from the country again, please.
Shiva is not just the elephant, that's one of the faces.
Oh, okay, yeah. But
So,
but I mean, yeah.
that's the. But really, the production, and even to have these card games, design and paper and the print, you know, if we need someone that can do printing and produce this kind of.
I'll just show you this quick flash, just one thing in and out. This is what we're doing at Harvard right now. You can just see view. No, what do I do here? Here, I'm do.
I love your work, man.
No.
But cool. Like the workbooks, that I see that as a perfect complement to what we've already brought to the table. Like what you brought, what we're bringing, from my personal perspective and how I'm perceiving the material and the spirit of intent and what the goal is and how to go about it. It's beautiful.
Like this is actually what we're doing at Harvard right now, and we're presenting. We've already had 2 presentations to Google to buy it, and actually we have the meeting the May 10th. And what happens is that these are 4 decks of cards called the Mindful Deal, And this is one deck of cards. They're in 4 different shapes. One is a diamond shape, which is a situation card. One is this type of like a pill shape, which is called Wild Words. One is a Q&R, which is question and reasoning. And one is by Langer, Ellen Langer's Langerian Principles. So these are the 4 decks of cards. There are 30 deck cards in each deck, so they're about whatever. So what you do is you take a situation. First, we'll make conflict at work, right? Then you choose one of Langer's cards, and she has a principle. Where we are is where we've never been. And you start reasoning how you could make that happen. Then they say, another card, the question, give 3 examples why this could be a good idea, give 3 examples why it could be a bad idea. So it's a facilitation thing that makes you mindfully think. This is all endorsed by Dr.
Right.
Langer's research and stuff like that. She has a book called The Art of Noticing. And how this thing works is actually, this is her book, The Art of Noticing. And they're all done with her artworks. And they're things that are one-line sayings. She's a painter as well. And she produces these things. We can, I don't know if you can read these things, but,
I think
and this is, is
it's
it
all-
backwards?
it's beautiful and cool.
No, I'm reading it.
Yeah, so this is the book
Um,
of the Art of Noticing by Ellen Langer. And we're taking all of these examples and we're using them. And these are all her psychology. These are all her laws, Langerian laws we're putting down. But you can do the same thing with what you guys got. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, you can turn
Yeah.
them into anything. I mean, we're making actually these prototypes now. They're making the first 5 decks of cards. And I have a partner in Zurich, Switzerland, Tabby Jordan. She's a TED talker and she teaches leadership. And we have a coalition formed there. So but your stuff is hugely big and hugely deep. I mean, it really is. And I think it's just got to be presented in a certain way with some sort of a budget to put on, because things like this just don't come out of anything. Like I was saying, when I made my dice on the stage, those dice were like, I didn't pay that, but I paid, my friend made them for me for 13,000 euros, but somebody's got to pay that. I'm trying to say, you can't just go like tick, tick, tick. It's got to be made. But I mean, if you have some sort of a budget to really put down, you can do some really cool kick-ass shit, let me tell you right now. Stuff that people will be remembered. You got to either do, like they say in a song, right? I was a guitar player. They say the first note is the important note, right? And the last note's important. Everything else doesn't matter. So you got to come on pretty strong and blow their minds right away at the first like that. And you got to end it really, really cool. And everything else that happens. So it's all about the immediate shock and the immediate look and the immediate lots of different things. But I mean, you got a lot of content there, and it's just amazing that I hope that you get some sort of financing to really put this thing out. I mean, and then everybody can jump in. I think somebody's got to be kind of like in charge of one aspect of it. Like in America, everything it's like in Italy, everybody participates in everything, and everybody says everything and everything. But in the United States, categoric. There's a director, there's this and that. I think that some of that has to happen a little bit to tighten it up, to put it down, like to make it happen. Get this thing going, ship it out. Who's going to be seeing it? Where's the first show going to happen? What time is it going to? Things that are stupid. It seems stupid, but you know what I mean? If you don't know those
It's
things,
all important. Every aspect and facet is very, very important. And the more well thought out, the less pigeonholing in any direction, which allows us all an immense freedom. Jewel, aka Inger-Mette, thank you so much for introducing us to.
Yes, I thought I had to do the introduction because I could be, we need the creative spark from Bill. I think it's a good contribution. So let's.
We undoubtedly agree with you, Inger-Mette. You found another jewel, highly compatible. Bill, we love you.
Oh, thanks.
I don't do that.
I come from the parking lot.
You're a beautiful man. Rough or not, it doesn't matter. You're absolutely beautiful, and we honor you and your work.
No, I mean,
and it's almost a given. You and Inger-Mette are a beautiful pair. We want to compliment that.
In any way we can.
Yeah, we'll just make things happen. one way or another, we'll work it out and go at each other's pace to locate that flow with the optimal jive that rotates all the way around to that beautiful harmony. And that's what we're going to stick with. Inger-Mette, would you like to put the manual on screen? Like share the screen on that and just scroll through it or whatever. Go at whatever pace you want, Bill, and walk her through it.
Manual. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the
Just-
TLDR that's probably the most appropriate at this point.
Just start at the beginning.
This one.
And yeah, Inger-Mette, you do your thing, and Bill, you guide her. So we're going to go at your pace.
I don't see anything happening here. Okay.
You just start opening the first one.
Yes.
That's the TLDR. And on the back half, Bill, is the legalese, all the documents relating to that. So the first half of what's in that folder she just showed is the manual for like the actual content process. If you zoom in, he'll be able to read it a little bit better.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
I
think it's too much right now, maybe to go in details. I think we can go through it and have a second meeting, maybe.
I have the file. I mean,
I have
here-
the file.
well, it's on the chat, right? You threw it in the chat. The file?
Yeah, it's in the chat.
But yeah, no, I can see that this is it's hard here. I don't, did you write it yourself, or did you have people help you, or I suppose you wrote yourself, maybe?
I assisted in the mission, Bill, with everyday quality. It's like the Dolce Vita, isn't it? Like Italian style.
Yeah.
So how
very
you can
good.
empower people in the community where they live, la dolce vita, like Italian style, and that kind of coming together again. That's the most important thing for our communities. But I think I added one word in that's a mission statement with Lyra.
A good, no, very good. A second candidate for the name of your show, I would think of, please allow me to introduce myself. I don't know. I just,
Are you
every
a big
time
fan of natural law?
oh no, no, Keith Richards for me is everything. When that guy leaves,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna listen to music anymore. I'm gonna just stop listening because I grew up with the Stones, but I'm just saying that it makes so much sense, like you were saying, of bringing out, getting to know yourself, finding out about yourself. When I heard, please allow me to introduce myself, I'm a man of whatever. I don't know. I just sort of, maybe it says something to me. It resonates with what's going on a little bit. I got to stop thinking about the Stones, but that's okay. Because I saw them 4 times in concert. I'm a guitar player too, so I mean, whatever. And I grew up in that time, so.
But tell me more about why this New Orleans, the House of the Rising Sun, Bill.
Well, we don't want to talk about what the House of the Rising Sun really was, because if you listen to the words of the song, but I don't know, there is a house in New Orleans they call, you know what it was? It was a house of prostitution. I mean, and
Yes.
but it was a provocative place. It was very controversial, and the whole song behind the House of the Rising Sun was back in the late 60s, probably I think early 70s when it came out. No, actually before, I'm not even sure, but I don't know, New Orleans, the way with, like I was the first thing, the closest association for me to what they do is Burning Man. I'm sure you've seen that thing. That's an amazing thing. I always wanted to go, but I don't think I'd have the courage to go, because you got to be part.
But it's a little bit coincidence, Bill, because me and Nate, we spoke about New Orleans as a city because of the Katrina nature storm, like what do you call it, cyclone Katrina. And then you have this thing then you have this connection that is the jazz city of New Orleans.
Sure.
And that is the connection to Malta, where I live, right? Because we were the first city in Europe to import jazz from New Orleans.
So do it at the House of the Rising Sun. I mean, symbolically, it means something, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it. Welcome to the opening event at the House of the Rising Sun. End of story. Don't even say where it is. Have them try to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I mean, all leads.
But if you really, and you, Nate, you say you'd love to be in New Orleans.
Yeah, you could actually replicate this in really mythical places in the world, like at the pyramids of Giza, or at the Abu Simbel, you know, where the rooms go down and stuff. You could actually create in really, really mystical, self-awareing places. I don't know, in the world even. The United States, the House of the Rising Sun has a ring to it because it's sort of like, you know, everybody knows that song and everybody knows kind of, you know, it's pretty provocative. I mean, my mother and father wouldn't let me listen to it. Every time they heard it, they had to shut it off. I mean, they wouldn't let us listen to it when we were little kids, but I mean, we listened to it anyway, but we're trying to figure things out. But I don't know, it's got a cool ring to it. House of the Rising Sun.
But Nate, you're also into the music, aren't you? You're musician, Nate.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was, but I
yeah.
mean,
I used to be a musician.
you,
I played brass for my vocal. Like, trumpet was my primary. I got into doing tuba, cornet, French
Oh, wow.
horn, saxophone, trombone. Even though, you know, sax was my fringe thing because it's a reed.
yeah, that sax is
I did some drums too. I wrote my first piece, just like I think it was just a few pages, but after like a year and a half of first starting music in elementary school, a year and a half later, I wrote my own piece and I did a duet with my instructor and a solo and all kinds of really cool stuff. Got to later compete in Argonauts, and the Miami Sound Machine was there. The
Oh, wow.
announcers made a big spectacle of it, where the guest band with Gloria Estefan should have been competing against us, and just forget about the
Wow.
other people that came. And
Yeah, right.
it was like a
Sure.
Western music event.
Gloria
I got
Estefan.
involved in jazz, advanced jazz, concert, symphony, orchestra, all kinds of stuff, with a little bit of theater. And I just took my pace, you know, and just through different things, I decided I didn't want to go to George Fox, even though I had an offer,
To where?
because I moved on to other interests. George Fox University,
Oh,
I got an offer on a musical scholarship
oh,
if I
wow.
want to do it.
Mm.
And that's where I just kind of ended up and going in a different direction. I got
So-
into being a techie and construction and, you know, blue collar stuff.
Well, now you got a story. Right?
Oh, yeah.
That's the story.
yeah.
That's the story. But really, the thing about the creativity, to be a jazz musician, you have to have a good player. You have to know the score, and that's the same thing. And then to be able to improvise. So that's the thing about the jazz jamming and creativity, and to rethink and to rebuild back better. You know, that's the story. I think it's cool. Well, but
Oh, yeah.
I think
Most
I will.
music, modern music.
I think I will say thank you now. We have to close the introduction of your beautiful people do creating this Soul City and the SoulSpark game. It's cool. Did you like it, Bill?
Yeah. No. Really,
It's cool.
I mean, make it happen. I mean, yeah, I think it's very interesting. I really do. I mean, this is down my line. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, it's right down my line. I mean, the stuff that I do, I think it resonates. You know.